questions, not statements, do think of those, and we'll see if we can bring some in as well.
Yeah, policy and policy implementation is a critical area. Generally speaking, across the African market, for lack of a better word, I just think that we copy each other. And it's more on how it is implemented or interpreted. In one of the West African countries, for example, the policy states that the application of the license, you have a cap of 1 megawatt. Now, the challenge now is in the interpretation of this megawatt, because the regulator says that how you get to a megawatt is you add your PV kilowatt peak, you add your storage, and if you have a diesel generator, then that makes up the capacity of the site. But in reality, that is off because the production from the PV would have to charge the base, and then now what is outgoing from the system may not necessarily be that 1 megawatt cap. Because as that limit changes, you now move on to a separate license, you now become more of an IPP than a small mini grid. So such stakeholder engagement becomes a very important aspect, so that the regulator also understands what the intention is and that all of you are on the same page.
Vincent?
I think it has improved in Kenya, the permitting situation, the permitting duration and the approval duration and the licensing duration, and also the categorization of the capacities. What is 1 megawatt peak? That has also been quite a challenge. But for me, in terms of the regulatory framework, and what I will talk about is on the taxation issues, really, because it is the government really does a lot of not harm, but I think it's time for people to have a long-term application of issues to do with VATs and import duties and all that, because nobody knows when this is going to be there or when it's not there. So many of the mini-grid companies and the C&I companies we are working with, the question always is, what happens after July next year, or 2027, or 2028? Nobody knows. And while you're doing your modeling, the O&M, which is really, really costly, and we have a culture that doesn't appreciate O&M. Therefore, in the middle of a project, when the taxation changes, this becomes a big issue. But into C&I now, where we have willing regulations that should be able to come in place, you will realize, and now we have a lot of battery companies that are doing huge, huge batteries. What was considered big 5, 6 years ago is no longer big right now. And what was considered small could be small, but even more intense right now. So in terms of technology, so many things have changed. Yes, in Kenya, the regulation has grown, but much more needs to be done. Personally, I don't believe we need to be permitting 1 megawatt. To me, it's quite a small system. We need to put this up and higher so that companies don't have to. I think companies take 1.5 years or 1 year nowadays to just get an approval, which to me, a lot of things, the taxation regime can change within that time, which throws you in a spin. Thank you.
Yeah, Troy, I've just remembered something that I also wanted to put across. Someone once said that politicians are the greatest engineers because they influence policies and they also influence client expectation. So, for example, if a politician says that we'll give you free energy, how is that free energy coming to be? When they get into power, for example, certain laws might be passed, and if all stakeholders are not involved in that discussion, then it gets into a situation where, for example, you may have grid encroachment, and the viability or the assumptions that you had prior, say, 2-3 years before the election, now throws you out of balance. So it's quite important that that aspect is spoken to very well, and that all stakeholders are on the same page.
I also want to jump in here, Troy, just quickly. In South Africa as well, in the early parts, we also had a 1 megawatt limit, you know. And we actually, through our photovoltaic associations, we actually lobbied to government and through many different organizations, pushed them to remove that, because if you want to go above 1 megawatt, then you need to apply for a generating license, right? And it's like you are similar to a utility in that sense. So we actually made a lot of strides. We actually removed that. You can do up to 100 megawatt now, no issues, without having the generating license. But behind the meter, you'll see these projects. In the beginning, 1 megawatt was big. Now the shopping malls and stuff are doing something like 5, 6 megawatts. It's moving in that direction, you know. So it'll happen here as well. So policy needs to catch up with what's happening in the market. And we as OEMs, we're also building solutions that are catering. We don't have a 1 megawatt transformer anymore. The smallest is 3 megawatts. And we have the biggest one is 9 megawatt transformer. So we're moving in that direction. Even the batteries, currently we have a 5 megawatt hour battery container. But next year we're going to have a 6.9 megawatt hour battery container. So it's moving higher in that direction. And I think you are right, it takes time. Policy needs to catch up with what is happening, you know, in China and what's happening in Europe. And we you know, 48 volt systems with the mainstream before. Now it's a thing of the past. Even your battery systems are 400 volts. So 400 volts DC. We're moving in that direction. And you're right, it's one of the blocking points is policymakers. So we need to lobby, we need to, even for the mini grids, one of the things is that in order, they must also have a forum for that mini grid, you know, that they must have a community forum that talks about the project and talks about the grid and how we can maintain it, how we can keep this thing for 20 years. It's all important. So I think forums are very important, and they hold a big place in this sector.
Good. Thank you. Good additions. Great additions. Vincent, do you still need to go? Okay. We're going to release Vincent. He's got a critical thing to get to that he pre-cleared due to the delay. Can you take one microphone to my colleague Gloria in the white and the black? Are there any questions in the audience? Thank you. Let's quick round for Vincent here. Andrew is here. Great. Okay. Gloria, sorry, I saw Andrew run away, but Andrew can run. So just to pause, any hands up, questions? I do have more, but we get an opportunity. Gloria's our sales and BD engineer with the RIA, so I trust her very well in this mission. Please, sir.
All right, good morning. My name is Pius. My question goes to Naido. You talked about monitoring the BMS and cloud, which provide the big data, but you also talked about the challenge of connectivity. Is there a research or a kind of to bring these models to offline models? Thank you.
So I didn't get the question, but let me just touch on that. So even some remote sites that we have, they actually build like a telco tower. So they build a telco tower on site that's either using a microwave or some other technology, because there's no fiber in the rural areas, right, as yet. So some of these plants are way out in the sticks. They don't have any connectivity. They don't have access to electricity. There's never been cell phone networks or data there. So actually the IPP who's doing the project will have to also cater for that and provide, that also provides connectivity for the community. Now you have, because you have electricity, you have connectivity, you also have now the opportunity to have e-commerce in that community as well. So electricity brings with it connectivity, brings with it e-commerce, brings with it lots of stuff. Now those guys can start ordering on the online platforms, getting deliveries to their community, which they never had before. So one thing leads to another thing. So in order for the economy to grow, electricity is key. Okay? And if electricity is part of a mini grid, which is now not connected to the grid, it's a completely off-grid solution, it's still bringing some other sectors in there. So that you get the telecom guys in there, they can run from the LTE, they can run to the households, people will have internet, they will have able to watch TV now, they can participate in a lot of things. So I think it's from one, it's a building block, okay? One thing leads to the next and the next, and eventually you'll see there'll be delivery services there, there'll be lots of things the guys can be doing, yeah. And even you need that connectivity to also do prepaid electricity. So for the mini grid, in order to make sure that you collect your revenue, the easiest way to do it is to do prepaid. So people can pre-buy their units from the mini grid, and then you know that's how you can secure your demand. Otherwise, you'll have people, we have it in South Africa, there are communities who are owing Eskom and City of Johannesburg billions of rands, and it's hard to collect that revenue. And you can't shut them off because our constitution says everyone has a right to electricity. So you can't even disconnect them. So this is the opportunity it brings. By having the connectivity, the electricity connectivity, it opens up doors for everything else.
All people need is a mini grid and a Starlink system, right? So, good. We had one question. Any others? Good. Easy pass. Hi.
Hi, my name is Crystal. I'll direct my question to Newton. Assuming you're seated at the policy table, what 3 things would you introduce? In Kenya, that is.
Okay, it's a tough question, but I'll try and answer it. From where I sit, I think the best way to do it is more involvement between the persons who are drafting the policy and more stakeholder involvement. My experience, for example, might not be exactly similar to my colleague here, but then in taking in the stakeholder inputs, for example, in the example that I gave, the issue was not necessarily about the writing, it was more an issue of interpreting the writing. So when now we discuss it further, for example, the point that Nado has brought up, systems are scaling up. My design, for example, would say I would need, say, somewhere in the range of 5 megawatt hour battery system. But then how the regulator then interprets that in line with the regulation might tell me that no, your system design is above this threshold, then you need to move to the next category. Whereas if we would speak through it and have that engagement, maybe the understanding on the other side would change. So the single shot for me would be, can we discuss it further? The equivalent of the lobbying that Nado has mentioned. But then let us, because we are doing the same thing, let us, all of us, be on the same page in the intention that we want to achieve.
Okay, I will wait for one more hands. I've got one more question myself. So this is for both Brynivin, because he touched on it earlier, and Newton as well, because I think PowerGen is doing this as well. Is there a convergence between technology, application between C and I? It's, as I started the talk saying, we run mini grids for factories. C and I is one application of an off-grid system, and the community, the initial mini grid technologies that were set up for communities. So what's the convergence there?
Yeah, so we do see this happening now, where mini grids are actually moving on grid, okay? And I think IPPs and installers and EPCs are also targeting these communities who have, let's say, point, but maybe only covering 50% of their demand. I think that's the low-hanging fruit. And so you can consider that a CNI project, and you can also consider it a mini grid, because 50% of the load is provided by the network operator, and the other 50% is now being provided by your solar, battery, and you are mainly using the grid as a backup, you know. And these mini grids are functioning as high reliability CNI solutions. The CNI customer gets high reliable power, and the revenue from the surrounding community helps improve the overall financial viability of the asset. I think it's for the financiers as well, they like that because it's a much more stable solution. However, I think, like I mentioned before, there is an idea and a plan, and there's a national development plan that's in place which has identified which communities and which areas they need to roll out the high voltage overhead lines to get there. But they've planned it for the next 10 years or next 20 years, but that money is allocated, that money is available from the budget. I mean, what we need to do is to talk to the policymakers, say, can we not make that money available for doing a mini grid, which will give access to the people faster, uplift the communities faster, and by the time the grid gets there, we're at lost opportunities. And the reality is that education is very important, and we need, with access where the world is moving now, with access to internet and connectivity is where we are uplifting those communities. And even, the people are doing, I've been to the Maasai market now. These guys are doing, a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of stuff coming from the rural areas. With this kind of thing, we can actually get them on e-commerce, and they can start supplying this stuff all over the world. That's how we can grow this economy. The whole goal here is to grow the economy, for the economy to become better, more stable, the exchange rate to be better, And how do we do that? Access to electricity is one of the key things that we need, and we need to find ways to shorten the cycle. And how can we increase from 72%, small steps, to 80% electrification? Then from 80% to 85%, then from 85% to 9%. But in all small steps and small building blocks, we need to find innovative ideas on how we can do that, rather than us just focusing on let's wait and it's not what the government can do for us, it's what we can do for ourselves.
Yeah, so the speaker has just captured a couple of the points I had. However, I'll add a few. So mini-grid in its sense is not entirely, the definition of it is not entirely an isolated system. We are also seeing situations where we are doing interconnected grids. In simple terms, we are saying your situations where you are buying from the grid, then you promise the customer a very good power system uptime, because the grid there might be reliable, like say, 40%, or the provider of the service is confident that you'll have an outage for like 6 hours. So you bring in the generation, combine it, and then now you serve the community, but you take a bit from the grid. So in that aspect, yes, we are seeing growth in that area, especially in countries where electricity, as much as the access was there, but because of population growth and other aspects, the demand for electricity has increased, and the production has somehow remained on the lower side. So outages will always be there, and then this, the opportunity now is in the provision of that service. So we have implemented an interconnected grid in Nigeria, and it's working quite okay. Okay.
We have a lot of e-mobility companies here with booths in an entire pavilion, actually, of e-mobility. Has PowerGen put any EV charging in their mini grids, or can you talk about that opportunity?
Yeah, we have not yet implemented that yet, but in previous projects, I know that was a consideration.
Yeah, it's definitely a way to boost revenues and add more production and lower that dollar per watt rate for the install. Do we have another? I'm going to take one more audience question. Yeah, Gloria? You can come up, Gloria, too, if you want to. If you have a big booming voice. Was there a microphone back there, or it disappeared? Come on up. Yeah, it's a press and hold, but yeah, we have one here too.
You can hear me now? So my question is to Newton or Elvis. How do you see the role of AI in making mini-grids more efficient? Yeah. Or also smart controls?
Okay, because I'm holding the mic, I can go first. So I think AI would come in on the aspect of predictive maintenance and also learning from the demand. And the efficiency really is in the usage of the energy. So, for example, if your system is charged by, say, 10 a.m., and you still have sufficient sun, can you channel the production from the sun during that time to serve the clients? I understand so far we have an element of that going on, but then there is also some improvements to do on it. I would also say there's the flow back to design. Once instead of now manually going through the reports, looking at the logs, for example, if there's an analysis that can be done so that it just shares to the designer that this is the concern, it might reduce the time for troubleshooting, for example, to a minimal period. Yeah.
Okay, I think, yes, as Newton has mentioned, AI will really help, especially in O&M, because you're able to get data more quickly, and it's also, you're able to also build models based on actual facts. And then also, I think on the investor side, you're able to make the AI learn and get more metrics so that the investors can also get the confidence that the system is working. That is in terms of reporting. Then also in terms now of AI, it's able to predict that this alarm can be able to get to this fault if not corrected within a certain period of time. So you're able to be more proactive than reactive to any system issues.
I just want to add to that. You know, many of us have had systems that were implemented 5, 6, 7 years ago, and the systems didn't come at the time with the AI, you know, equipped in there. There's lots of companies out there right now that are offering, you know, a third-party add-on to solar systems, and they are actually promising you that maybe you're currently doing 50% self-consumption, but with their solution, which includes smart switching, turning on your geyser, turning on your dishwasher, and you know all of the things at different times, they could actually increase your productivity to about 80%. And I think that answers your question. It's needed because I mean, I myself can do changes to my system, but I rarely find the time to do it, and I rarely find the time to go and analyze and think about how I. But it's things like this. We got to change the way we think as a household. Mainly, like, we need to start, you know, doing things between 12 and 2 o'clock. Put on your heavy loads during that time, boil your rice at that time, you know, cook your stuff or your things that take, you know, make your stew at that time. It takes 3 hours to make stew. Do those kind of things that are during the sun hours, because the main thing that you need to realize is that solar is a bell curve. And we do have the capacity now where we're trying to capture that middle of the day power into our batteries so we can use them at different times of the day. But however, I can still see that AI can think much faster than us, learn our habits, and appropriate the system in a certain way. I can give you an idea, like, you know, we wake up every day around about 5 o'clock in the morning, but I'm using my battery to zero by the time it's 10 p.m. What I could do is that I could set it for a time of use to save about 20 or 30% of that power for that morning session, because when I look at my graph, the spike goes up to like 5-6 kilowatts, you know? And if I could just cover that 5-6 kilowatts from that 5 to 7 o'clock period, I'd actually increase my self-consumption by maybe 20%. But I'm not doing it because I'm lazy. All humans are lazy. So AI will help us to overcome that.
Yeah, we had full booths of energy storage this year, and maybe AI booths will be filling next year's conference. I am going to close out. Last question. This will be a fast one, lightning round. You have one piece of advice to give to someone who's building their new mini grid. Everyone can answer, but yeah, just a quick single point.
I think that the most important part of a mini grid or any solution, pre-sales must be done properly. Ask all the right questions. Make sure you dive deep. Send the guys information sheets. Ask them to fill it out. Because more than not, we are sizing systems incorrectly. We are not adding the correct functions. Things like black start capability is not being added because we don't have enough information. And you'll end up putting a solution in where in 6 months' time the client is on your back every single week. I need this, I need that, I need this. And eventually EPC and IPP have to fork out the costs. So do pre-sales thoroughly. That's my advice.
Good. Newton?
Yeah, I would say improve stakeholder management, very key. Everyone, the investor, the person executing, is very, very, very key, because on the design side, you may make certain assumptions that would impact the price per unit, and these assumptions might be off, they might be accurate, they might be largely off. So the flow of that information is very, very critical, so that as you take these decisions, you take decisions that would work for the project. The other aspect I would say on the same point would be empowerment of the resource, particularly on the O&M side, so that as you chase more projects, you don't have the core team still working on problems that have not been resolved in already completed sites. A small issue, for example, like termination of a cable was not done correctly, or interoperability, the EMS, for example, is not seeing a certain component of the system. That might cause maloperation of the system and affects your power system uptime. So if we improve stakeholder involvement, everyone plays their part. They have all the necessary support and all the necessary information. And also learn from the system that we have implemented. Because sometimes, as I mentioned earlier, already you've implemented the system, it works, you forget about it. But if you can mine the information from the system that is operating, it can inform the assumptions for your next project. And as a whole, it becomes better each time.
Good way to finish. Thank you. Elvis, your points?
Okay, I think for me, what I would say is first, the system is being developed for people. So the community should also be able to own it. Otherwise, they will not be able to use it to the best of what the engineers had designed it for. And that now includes letting them know when should they use the power, how should they use the power, should they go over the design specifications, or are they underutilizing it? And that now also comes into now the operation and maintenance. Letting them know that if this happens, please correct this quickly so that we can continue using this power. It's for your own good. It's not somebody who sat in an office and decided you need this power. It is useful for you.
Super. Thank you, panelists, for your insights. I hope you've brought business cards to hand out. More importantly, thank you, audience. I saw many active eyes and active ears during the session. Hopefully there's more questions, so come up, grab these guys. They are Goodwe and SunGrow have booths. I don't think PowerGen is, so you're gonna have to grab Newton right away for get questions for him. So thank you, audience, for coming. Andrew? And do we do the round of applause now? Here it is, yeah, round of applause, thanks.
On behalf of the entire Powerelec team, I would like to thank the panelists. A special thank you to our moderator, Troy, who felicitated the entire session. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking out your precious time and felicitating the entire session. Soon after this, we are starting with the company presentation of JS Solar. We have Ryan Okod. He's the regional sales manager for East Africa, where he leads the business development and strategic partnerships across the region's renewable energy market. Let's stay tuned for the presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll take the next couple of minutes to take you through JS Solar, who we are, what we do, and for those who already know us, what's new for us. So a bit of a brief about the company. The company was founded in the year 2005. And as of November 2019, we got listed in the Shenzhen Stock Exchange. And cumulatively, as of Q2 2025, we've shipped around 300 gigawatts globally, and that represents about 14.5% market share in the whole globe. And we have about 1,900 patents. So you can see we've got a very extensive R&D team. And we have presence all over the globe, and as you can see in Africa as well. So from Cape to Cairo, you can see the dots where we've got representation across each of the countries in Africa, and we've got each particular person covering whatever country in Africa. So should you need anything across Africa, always reach out to us. And the company has been growing quite a lot over the past few years. As you can see on the graph, in 2024, this was our highest recorded shipment ever. So we shipped 2.5 gigawatts to Africa, and you can see that is a very significant improvement from 2023. And this year we are projecting to do around 3 gigawatts in Africa. And we believe we now have the largest market share in Africa. So the company's business is segmented in three business models. So we've got the solar PV, energy storage, and advanced materials. I'll take the next few minutes to show you what each business segment is all about in detail. So we'll start with solar. This is our core business as JS Solar. So we are vertically integrated across the entire value chain. So everything we do in-house, from the silicon rods to the silicon wafers to the photovoltaic cells and to the photovoltaic modules. And as of this year, we've got a production capacity of 100 gigawatts. And we, as a company, we've been exploring a number of cell technologies. So we've got the TOPCon, heterojunction, back contact, and tandem. But TOPCon represents our most dominant product in the region, and we believe for the next few years, TOPCon is going to be the most dominant product, even though we can provide for you back contact and heterojunction on a project basis. And that graph shows you just efficiency against time and how we believe each particular cell technology will pan out in the next coming years. So Deep Blue 4.0 is our mainstream product for the African market. So this is the N-type TopCon. And we can produce up to a maximum of 640 watts currently. And even though we've got the 700 watt range module, but that's not so common for the African market, but we do produce it on demand as well. But under commercial production, we've got the Deep Blue 4.0 up to 640 watts. And these are just some of the benefits that our customers have been enjoying across the region in Africa, mainly for this year. So the module has got high efficiency, higher power, high bifaciality gain, up to 85% plus. So as a result, there is high customer value. So in detail, these are our mainstream products for Kenya and the African market. We tend to classify it some as residential, CNI, and utility, but in essence, you can use either of these modules for whatever application. It doesn't mean you can't use, for example, the 66L TopCon, which is our mainstream power for residential. Yeah.
Any of these can work in whatever application you do desire. And we recently launched a new product in Q4
of 2025. This is our Deep Blue 5.0. So it has got about 5% more power output than the regular TopCon technology, and we can achieve up to 670 watts, and efficiencies of up to 24.8. So there's some additional features we add into this for it to give us this high amount of output. And we as a company, we do believe that customization is what's going to hold the future. So I was discussing with someone in the back there, and they're telling me that PV has become a commodity. Maybe for the standard product, it is a commodity. But we've got product for specific scenarios, and these are very, very important to you, especially when you are signing up on power purchase agreements where each watt generated matters. So we've got products for the ocean, lake environment, the desert, high plateau, the cold region, and high humid areas. So I'll just pick on one of them to tell you what are we doing and what improvements it has from the standard product. For example, the Desert Blue has got a DLC glass. DLC is diamond-like carbon glass. And as a result of it, it makes it a bit easier for the dust to wash away. So the same amount of flow rate, or if you compare how much amount of dust it would wash away from the PV module, it washes away easier from this particular product than from the standard PV module. And it's got a dust-proof connector cap and a fluorine backsheet. So these improvements make this particular product very suitable for the desert application. So for the other scenarios, you can see what improvements we've made on it. And should you require more information, always get in touch with us. We can discuss to you in detail about this scenario products. So a couple of years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, the company decided that storage is a segment that we must get into, because we did receive a couple of requests for customers who want a complete J solution. So we now got into energy storage, and in Kenya here, we've done about 5 megawatt hour in total, even though all those are CNI applications. And our energy storage business is segmented into 3. So we've got the Blue Galaxy, which is the utility scale ESS. We've got the Blue Planet, which is for CNI applications, and we've got the Blue Star for residential applications. So I'll start with the residential application. So this is our main product for the residential application. It's a 5.12 kilowatt hour rated energy storage, and it's got a warranty of 5 years, but extendable to 10 years at some extra small fee. And the compatibility for this product is quite great. You can see on the far right the number of inverters that are compatible with our residential ESS. So these are among the top brands you see in the market. So it should be quite easy to integrate our energy storage alongside these inverters as well. And these are our CNI ESS. We call it J Planet, can be AC or DC coupled. And the main products we have for this are the 215 kilowatt hour storage, the 430 kilowatt hour storage, and the 645 hour kilowatt storage. So these are the ones we've installed in Kenya, amounting to around 5 megawatt hour now. And we are now, because we've seen the government has opened up, so next we're going to be really pushing on the utility scale applications. So some of the features that we have on our CNI based products, can see it provides real-time system monitoring. It's an integrated plug and play. Even though ESS is not one type fits all, so we usually like to understand what your site conditions are before you propose a product to you. And these systems can be connected in parallel, up to 4 units in parallel to produce a bigger battery bank. And JA Galaxy, this is our utility scale product. So we've got the 1 megawatt hour, the 2 megawatt hour, and the 5 megawatt hour. So it comes in a containerized solution as it is. Again, we always like to understand your site conditions before we get to supply you this particular product, so that when it comes to site, it is just a plug and play kind of solution. So there is usually an information sheet would send out to you to fill in. Then from that, we can be able to prepare for you the kind of product suitable for your site. And these are the main features, the key features for our ESS. So it's all of them have got modular MPPTs, meaning you can be able to put up more PCS to have a bigger MPPT size. And each module, each PCS comes with a rating of 135 amps and can be figured to run on-grid or off-grid. And they are both highly scalable. Up to 4 machines can be connected in parallel again to have a bigger battery bank. And easy maintenance. So we provide a bypass for that provides easy maintenance and also supports 100% three-phase unbalanced load for this particular feature. And the transformer is isolated as well. And I'll run you through a few project references that we've done across Africa, mainly the sub-Saharan Africa region. So you can see the projects we've done this year. These are projects we've commissioned this year. All the way from the big projects considered utility scale to the CNI scale range of products, all to small ones. So there's the 100 megawatts we've just commissioned in Zambia, the Kabwe plant. We did a 1.4 megawatt in Nairobi here for a packaging company, and a 10.1 megawatt hour, megawatt PV capacity in Egypt, and a Zimplats 40. So this is just a few of the references, We are currently constructing the biggest project we have in Africa is a 1 gigawatt project in Egypt in 2 phases, 500 megawatt each. And after the project references, now that is the end of my presentation. So we invite you to connect with us for further conversation. We can connect you. We have a very strong distribution network in Kenya here and across East Africa. So should you require any of our products, always feel free to get in touch with us. Thank you. Oh, sorry. I'm told I need to welcome questions and comments from the audience. Anyone, feel free to ask any question. Oh, I can. Our offices are where? In Kenya here. So we are a team of 6 in Kenya. The entire team works remotely. So just get in touch for any inquiry and we will be able to assist you. We can also get you in touch with our distribution partners if you want to source the product locally. No, in Kenya we work purely remotely. through our contacts, there's myself, we've got Peter, can stand up. Yeah, and just wave to the crowd, yeah. Come again. Raymond. Raymond is our strong distribution partner from Reddington. Yes, you can also get in touch with him. Yeah. Hi. Ah, yes, yes. So a very good partner of ours have just mentioned to me that he's here and he's got a big booth. So he's opening a store in Kenya here in January. So you can also get our products from him. He's called Mr. Johan Smith of World of Sun and Wind Power. Any other question? All right. I'll assume that's it. So get in touch with us in case of anything, any demand, any need you may have. Thank you.
Can we have a round of applause for Ryan? Thank you so much, Ryan, for taking out time from a busy schedule and giving us a detailed company presentation. Hope all the audience have gained productive insights from this. With this, we are ending the conferences for Powerelec 2025 Kenya today, and hope all the audiences really enjoyed the interactive sessions and also the panel discussions that were held throughout these 3 days. Thank you so much to all of you who have given out time. And I hope we see and engage for next year's Powerelec. Thank you.